Hey guys, it's Chris and I'm back with another writing video, and today I want to talk about showing versus telling. Now, I mentioned this tip in previous videos. You may have seen it on some other channels as well, but I want to go a little bit more in depth into what that actually means. And first, I would like to thank Audible.com for sponsoring today's video. You can sign up for a free trial of Audible.com and get a free audiobook of your choice as well. Just head over to audibletrial.com/smokescreen, sign up for a free 30-day trial and get a free book. And even if you decide to cancel your trial, you'll get to keep the damn book. So again, head over to audibletrial.com/smokescreen and get a free audiobook of your choice with your 30-day free trial of audible.com. And all those links will be in the description below. Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Chris and I'm working on my first fantasy debut novel, The Crimson Gods. And I've been working on it for about 2.5 years now, so I've learned a lot in the last few years, so I'm gonna start doing a lot more writing videos and probably start doing at least one a week, dropping every Wednesday. And also, if you're interested in becoming a beta reader of The Crimson Gods, you can join our Patreon community as well. That will give you access to my Discord server as well, and I've started a new writing room in there to invite, potential authors, new authors, experienced authors, anybody that enjoys writing or is wanting to learn to write, to all come together and work with each other and share our experiences, etc. So if you're interested, all those links will be in the description below as well. So anyway, let's jump right into it. Showing versus telling. What is showing versus telling? You probably heard this 1,000 times, but I want to get into it a little more in depth and give you actual examples and some of my own examples from my upcoming novel, The Crimson Gods. So essentially the definition of showing versus telling is just outright telling your audience or your readers what your character is thinking or feeling, as opposed to just letting your audience deduce what they're thinking or feeling through some action or context of the scene. So in other words, you coming in as the author with your omnipotent voice just saying something like, Alice was tired, as opposed to letting the audience figure out that Alice was tired through action or actual dialogue itself. For example, using one of my own characters from my upcoming novel, Amari, if I were just to tell you Amari was tired, that is actually telling. I'm straight up telling you Amari was tired, and that's kind of boring. On the other hand, I could show you that Amari was tired by having him stretch his arms and try to hide a yawn or even rub his eyes. Readers are smart enough to deduce that through those actions that Amari is probably fucking worn out. So the point of all this is letting your reader experience the story as you've written it, as opposed just to telling them what to think. Let the readers get immersed in the story, because every single one of us can relate to rubbing your eyes or yawning or stretching or some action that conveys that we're trying to take a nap. All right, really quickly, let me give you 3 more examples of this using my 3 main characters from The Crimson Gods before we jump into the quick tips on how to actually show versus tell. Example number 1, this would be the telling version. As she approached, she saw a blur of black and white come from behind the tree next to her kill. Ashea was scared as she looked around. And now what I think is a little bit better in letting the readers deduce what's going on, the showing version. As she approached, she saw a blur of black and white come from behind a tree next to her kill. A short scream managed to escape her throat as she lunged backwards, falling to one knee. She regained her balance and quickly knocked another arrow as she studied her surroundings. So through those actions of her, letting a little scream escape from her throat, falling back to one knee because she kind of jumped backwards, then regaining her balance and looking around as she knocked another arrow, that implies she's fucking scared. And number 2, the telling version. Amari was happy to see his old friend. And of course, what I think is a little bit better, the showing version. Amari jumped onto the dock with a wide smile and rushed to embrace his old friend. What brings you this far south? So as you can see in that example, even using dialogue at the end where even asked the question, what brings you this far south, combined with the action of kind of jumping up on the dock and rushing over to give his friend a hug, you can deduce that he's happy to see him because you see a smile on his face, he rushed over to do it, and he asked the question, so that all implies that he's very happy to see his old friend that he hadn't seen in a long, long time, just from the actions as opposed to just straight up saying he was happy to see him. One boring, one action, you get the idea. And number 3, the telling version. Cyric noticed a metallic taste in his mouth. He must have bitten his lip while sleeping. And of course, the, I think a little bit better anyway, showing version. He noticed a metallic taste in his mouth and rubbed his finger on the inside of his lower lip. His finger stained crimson red. So as you can see there, we've all had that experience of waking up where we've bitten our lip or inside of our jaw or something while we're sleeping. So as you can see here using this example, we're still showing the metallic taste because we want to use our senses, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. But just having Cyric rub his lip and then come up with blood on his finger shows that he likely bit his lip or whatever during his sleep. Or did he? So real quickly, 5 really quick tips on how to better show versus tell. Number 1, actions. Instead of having a character just be tired or you say the character was tired, show that action again through, like I said before, yawning or stretching or rubbing their burning eyes. We can all relate to that type of thing because we've all done it. Or instead of just telling us a character is mad, have them stomping across the room, mumbling something under their breath. And tip number 2, dialogue, or lack thereof. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. For example, someone may stutter when they're nervous. So, you have somebody trying to lie about something and they're kind of stuttering. Maybe somebody's asking somebody a question and they don't really know the answer, but in that situation, they're nervous about it because they don't want to screw it up. So they're stuttering or trying to mumble through their answer. Another quick example of an emotional type thing is, raising your voice when you're angry or mad. Everybody's done it. Everybody has experience with that in one way or the other. Number 3, senses. You want to utilize all 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. So for example, instead of saying somebody is sick or not feeling well or whatever, you could say their vision was blurry. Or instead of just saying the food was shitty, have your character make a face and secretly spit that shit out into their napkin. Or instead of saying something like it got dark outside, say something like she heard the song of crickets fill the air. So that implies, it's now nighttime. And number 4, body language. We touched on this a little bit before, but other examples of that would be something like, leading with your chest if you're feeling confident. Instead of for example, one of my characters, Amari, being anxious, I could have him run his hands through his hair and sigh. That kind of gives you that anxious feel because we've all done it and people can figure that out for themselves. And number 5, setting. Instead of, for example, saying it was snowing outside, use an example something like, before she entered the tavern, Ashea knocked the snow from her boots. Just from that simple line of her knocking snow from her boots, the reader can deduce that there's snow on the fucking ground. You don't have to describe snow being on the roof and the ground and all that stuff. Let the actions of the characters show you that it's already snowy outside. It could be, like I just said, knocking snow from her boots. It could be riding a horse and a lump of snow fell from the tree above or whatever and smacked her in the fucking face. You get the idea. That way, instead of kind of describing the whole setting and then getting on with the action and dialogue, you're moving the story forward by doing both at the same time. And of course, as usual, all these are just general guidelines for better writing, but of course, with all rules, there are exceptions. In some cases, of course, perhaps in some dire situation where there's not a lot of time for action, quick telling could work just fine. Anyway, guys, as usual, thank you for all the support, especially you guys on Patreon, and a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and share. And of course, be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell twice so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.